The Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, House Chair, Mr. President, Mr. Deputy President. Is he in Moscow? While the President announced some laudable, notable objectives in his Sona address last Thursday, perhaps the most glaring disappointment was the way in which he simply glossed over the epidemic of crime sweeping our nation. Every single day across South Africa, while the President tells us to watch this space, 57 of our citizens are murdered, 137 women are sexually assaulted, 685 homes are violated. This is a national crisis on a grand scale. Our citizens are not safe in their streets, in their homes, on their farms, and in their workplaces. Now, the President exhorted communities to join hands and fight crime. And yes, partnership policing is important. But communities cannot be expected to carry this burden alone. They also cannot be expected to partner with a police service that is understaffed, under-equipped, under-trained and unprofessional. Now, last year from this podium, the President promised us that the key focus for the year would be on the redistribution of resources to station level. The reality is, however, that the police-to-population ratio actually worsened over the 2018 year. We now have one police officer for every 375 citizens. This leaves communities even more vulnerable and unsafe. And no, Honourable Jeffries, these communities are not scared of the DA. They're scared of the criminals that prey on them and their families and their children every single day because of your government's inaction, your inability to deal with crime. That's what scares citizens every single day. But it's little wonder that this government doesn't take crime seriously. You want to know why? Because they are all immune to this war zone that South Africans have to live in a daily basis. A reply to a DA parliamentary question in July last year revealed that there are 81 presidential protection officers for every one of the 17 politicians that they protect. While our communities are locked in a brutal grip of crime, this government is spending 1.5 billion rand on VIP protection for politicians. You cannot say you're serious about fighting crime and resourcing our stations when you are so careless and misdirecting so much money to keeping yourselves and your families safe while our citizens are held captive with crime and criminality. Now, Mr. President, please know this. Your critics may sit on these benches here, but your enemies are sitting on the benches behind you. So your message to us, Mr. President, is watch this space. Our message to you, Mr. President, is watch your back. Because the allies of growth and progress sit on the opposition benches, but your biggest obstacles sit on your own. There are people behind you in this House that are willing you to fail. Now, of course, the Honourable Dlamini Zuma came here today. She struggled a little bit. I suppose Nasrec wasn't great. She's got a great future behind her. She says that the ANC is honest. But the truth is that the ANC is corrupt to the core. And too many people in this party have got used to the Vuitton handbags, the kickbacks and the chickens. Now, the Honourable Mampura told us that talk is cheap and money buys the whiskey. No, you're wrong. Talk is cheap. Gavin Watson buys your whiskey. Now, we know as well that the ANC don't really want the Scorpions back. They disbanded them in 2008 so the looting could continue. They don't really want to unbundle Eskom either because it's much easier to capture and loot a single state entity. And of course, these same people are rubbing their hands in glee at the prospect of this big school tablets tender that they can enrich themselves with. And if it's not the corrupt in your ranks, Mr. President, who are going to trip you up, it's the loony left in your tripartite alliance. The truth is simply this. You're never going to be able to achieve many of the lofty goals you set yourself because your party and alliance partners just will not let you. Your plans to restructure Eskom will be scuttled, not by the opposition, but by your own COSATU alliance partners. Your plans to fix schools will be undermined, not by the opposition, but your own SATU alliance partners. And your acceleration of the NDP, which the Honourable Dlamini Zuma waxed lyrical about today, will be blocked, not by the opposition, but your own fellow travellers in the SACP. And that is why, Mr. President, it's time to deal decisively with the corrupt within your own party. You cannot expect anybody to take you seriously about your efforts in corruption when the chief protagonists and architects of state capture still sit on these parliamentary benches around us today. And you know what, Mr. President? They'll get you in the end. So watch this space, but importantly, watch your back. Now, the Chief Whip waxed lyrical today about the new announcement around this new directorate. And it was very interesting to see some of the people that were clapping the loudest that evening. How ironic that some of the most enthusiastic clappers on the evening were the very undertakers of the Scorpions, the Honourable Karim, and clapping along like seals next to him were the very people whose Mrs. Batoy should have in her crosshairs on her first day at the office. But the bigger worry we should have is, do they clap because they know that no matter what happens, no matter the charge, no matter the evidence, they will be protected? Because the litmus test of this new directorate is not going to be which officials or greetsies they arrest. The test is going to be when they start putting cuffs on the honourable members in this House. And your test, Mr. President, will come when your party tries to block that from happening. Because you see, Mr. President, when a minister accepts a monthly retainer, bra packs, whiskey and a car for their daughter, if I may quote a recent email of yours, it is plainly, dastardly criminal and must be characterised as such. There needs to be concomitant action. When a senior parliamentarian is kept sweet through bribes and cash payments, security upgrades and his daughter's university fees, it is plainly, dastardly criminal and must be characterised as such. It requires concomitant action. And when the ANC premiers and mayors across this country loot their municipalities dry, it is plainly, dastardly criminal and must be characterised as such. There needs to be concomitant action. The time for concomitant action is now. Now, the Honourable Jeffries came here today, and I see he quoted liberally from T.S. Eliot. And he spoke about the ANC's great manifesto launch. But what he doesn't tell you is the ANC launched the manifesto on the Sunday. 24 hours later, the President and his Finance Minister had walked away from key aspects of the manifesto. 48 hours after that, the Secretary-General of his party repudiates both the President and the Finance Minister. And 72 hours later, in Davos, the President himself doubles down in repudiating the manifesto. That is why you guys are called the African National Confusion. That is why we've had 10 years of policy inertia. That is why this economy is not working. Now, the Honourable Jeffries had a lot to say about the DA policies, and lucky for him, he obviously went to look at them on the DA website. Because if you visit the DA website, you will find policies on over 30 key areas of key government interventions. They're there for you to read. So I thought what I'd do is I'd go onto the ANC website to take a look at some of your policies. Well, this site cannot be reached. anc.org.za server address cannot be found. But frankly, if I had your policies that have pushed 10 million South Africans into the unemployment queues, that have wrecked this economy, that have wrought hardship on the people of South Africa, I would also hide them away because they're a source of shame, and you should be ashamed at what they've done to South Africa. Now let me tell you this. The Honourable Jeffries quoted T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot did another publication. It was called The Wasteland. And just like you in your argument, all tip, no iceberg. What he says there very clearly, April is the cruelest month. Well, let me tell you this, Honourable Jeffries, the DA is going to make May the cruelest month for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. The Honourable Minister.